do is factor it. A is 1. B is 4. C is negative 45. Now, everything we did Friday, we could do a shortcut because A is 1. Whenever A is equal to 1, you can do a shortcut. So it's only asking us to factor, not solve. So A is 1. Let's make our 2 parentheses, put an X in front of both. And now we need to find 2 numbers that multiply to be 1 times negative 45, which is negative 45, and add to 4. Do not say it out loud if you find them first. This is the hardest part of factoring, which is why I also provided multiplication charts to help those who may need it. There are extras over there on that organizer by the door. So take a minute and see if you can find 2 numbers. They have to multiply to negative 45 and add to a positive 4. The only way to get a negative on top is if one number is negative and one number is positive. So I'm telling you, I'm looking for a negative number and a positive number. So let's take about 60 seconds. Let's all kind of think about it. Look at your charts. 2 numbers. They multiply negative 45 and add to 4. When you think you know the numbers, just give me a thumbs up. I'm not calling on you. I just want to see how many of you all think you know the numbers. So far, 2, 3 people. Okay, let's keep thinking. 4 people. 5. Okay, it's getting closer. Anybody want to volunteer the numbers? Raise your hand if you want to volunteer the numbers. Makai. You said who?
Negative 4.
Positive 9 and negative 4. Not quite. Close, though. Not a negative 4, though. Wait, did you say negative 4?
I mentioned
Negative
negative 5.
5. Okay. There we go. All right. So don't put a comma. Do not put a comma. There is no X comma. No. All you're doing is taking that minus 5. I want you to put that in one of the parentheses, just a minus 5. And then you're taking the plus 9 and putting that in the other parentheses. This would be your final answer. It didn't ask us to solve it. We don't have to set it equal to 0. All it asked us to do was factor. All right, so now let's go back to our notes. And we are going to go to page 19. So steps to factoring. The first step is always look for a GCF. We always start with that. Does anybody remember what GCF stands for? Greatest common factor. That could be a number. It could also be a variable. Then we're going to check for perfect squares, which we will talk about that on another day. Now, step 3 is important because we only do this when A is not 1. Going back to the bell work, A is 1. See, we started off with a 1, so we didn't need to make a box. But when A is not 1, that's what that means. That means does not equal. Equal with a slash. When A does not equal 1, that is when we make a box. Who remembers factoring from integrated 2? It's a little tricky. I'm going to go as slow as possible. I do recommend, if you don't feel confident in your multiplication tables, you might want to take that chart out. It might come in handy for factoring. All right. So let's look at how to factor. So the first thing you're going to do after you look for your GCF, you have your quadratic. This A term has to go in the top left box. So this is the top row. This is the left column. So that has to go here. That's very important. The C value, this has to go in the bottom right box. That has to go here. So we're still going to start off the same way. We're going to make our X, put A times C at the top, B at the bottom, and we're going to look for two numbers that multiply to give us this number that's on the top and add to the number on the bottom. When we get those two numbers, they're actually going to be our B terms, split in half. So we're going to get two numbers. Well, I'm just put a B. And then those two terms have to go in these two squares. That's how we fill in our 4 squares. Now, these can flip-flop. But what's most important when you set this up is that A is in the top left box and C is in the bottom right box. So we're going to spend today practicing how to factor and do a little bit of the graphing or sketching. Now, when we look at this first question, notice that this is not set equal to 0. So we still have to set it equal to 0. In order to do that, I am going to subtract that 17 from its like term. So I'm going to have 3x squared and then plus 5x. Now figure out what 15 minus 17 is. That's your C value. So 15 minus 17 is -2. So we have our A, our B, and our C. So does everyone see how A is not 1? What's the first number? 3. It's not 1. So let's make our box. Let's set up our box. And remember, this is going to go here. And the C has to go here. That's important. So I'm putting my 3x squared here and a -2 here. Let's make our X. On top of the X, you're taking A times C. So that would be 3 times -2. Go ahead and see what you get. Take 3 times -2, put that on top. It's always A times C on top. So 3 times -2 gives you a -6. The B value is 5. All right. So this is the hard part. Don't say it out loud. But you need to find two numbers. They have to multiply to -6 and add to a +5. So two numbers that multiply to give you -6 and add to a +5. And we know that both numbers, in order to get a negative, one number is positive and one number is negative. That's the only way to get a negative on top. So, thumbs up when you think you know. Okay, that was fast. So, what are my numbers to find? -1 and +6. So I'm going to put a +6x in one box and a -1x in the other. So now we're going to go 2 squares at a time. So I only want you to look at these 2 squares. Let's only look at the top row. So this is where your multiplication chart can come in handy. You're looking for the largest column that has a 3 and a 6 in it. The largest column with both a 3 and a 6. Take out your charts and take a look at them. The largest column with both a 3 and a 6. Yes. Over there, by the door. So you know it's in the ones, right? Every number is in the ones. When you look in the 2s, do you see a 3 and a 6 in that column?
Yes.
In the 2s? No. What about the 3s? So that means that out of this top row, I'm taking a 3 out, and they both have an X. So I'm taking a 3 and an X out. The only number, the only column that has a 1 in it is the ones column. You don't see a 1 in any other column except for 1. So that means the only thing I can take out would be a 1. But it's next to a negative, so it's going to also be negative. So that means that my first factor would be 3x minus 1. Go ahead and solve that for x. Add 1, divide by 3, leave your answer as a fraction. So we're adding 1 to both sides. And then we're dividing by 3. So x equals 1/3. That's my first answer. If you were to take 1 and divide it by 3, you're going to get a decimal 0.3. So I'm going to put a point right in between 0 and 1. Go ahead and put your point between 0 and 1. All right, let's look at our second factor. So again, the only column that has a 1 in it is 1. So what can I take out of both of these squares? What do they both have? And they both have a 1. What else do they both have? A x. Take that out. And if you look at your chart, the numbers 2 and 6 appear in the 1s and also in the 2s. But the biggest number it appears in is the 2. So I'm taking out a 2. Has to be a positive 2. Go ahead and set that one equal to 0. And you should get x equals -2. Put a point on the -2 and draw a smile. And that's it. Any questions about the first example? Who remembers this? Thumbs up, sideways, down. I'm just trying to see where we at. Yeah, I know. This is the part I'm worried about on Friday's test. But we got the whole week to remember. All right, let's do another one. That's the only way to get better. I know this says W, but I'm going to change that to an X. So I'm going to write it as 2x squared plus 11x plus 12 equals 0. All right, so this one is already set equal to 0. We don't have to do that. We don't have a GCF, but A is 2. So let's make our box. This 2x squared is going to go here. The 12 will go here. All right, make your X. So this is A, B, C. Make your X. On top of the X is A times C. A times C would be 2 times 12. And what is 2 times 12? 24. Put that on top. B is 11. Don't say it out loud. Give everybody a chance. We need two numbers that multiply to give you 24 and add to 11. And 24, there's a lot of places you can find 24. But we need the two numbers to add to give us 11. Anybody know my numbers? Antonia? 8 and 3. So let's check it out. 8 times 3 is 24. 8 plus 3 is 11. So I'm going to put an 8x in one, a 3x in the other. And we're taking out our GCFs. So in this square, I'm going to write this out for those who might need it. So this has a 2, an x, and an x. This one has a 3 and an x. Using 3, because I got to use a number in this row. What can I multiply by 3 to get 12? So that means this has really a 3 times 4. And using 4, what multiplies to give me 8? 4 times what is 8? 2. So if I were to break this down, this is what's in each box. So if you look at the top row, so would you agree that 2x is 2x squared? And do you agree that 4 times 2 is 8? So we got 8x here. We have a 3x here. So I just kind of broke these down to factors. Maybe that'll help. So looking at this top row, do you notice that they both have a 2 that I can take out? And they also have an x. So I could take that 2x out and put it in the front. What does the bottom row have? What do both of these boxes have? They both don't have an x, right? So I can't take out an x. They both don't have a 4, but they do have a 3. So I'm taking out the 3. Has to be positive. Once you do that, the rest is easy because what's left over? The only thing left over is an x. That's going to go up here and a 4. So my factors become 2x plus 3 times x plus 4. All right, set those equal to 0. That one's going to be a decimal. So go ahead, take a moment and solve both of those. So I'm subtracting the 3. And dividing by 2. So my first answer is x equals negative 3 over 2, which is the same as negative 1.5. So you can write that as a fraction or a decimal. Negative 1.5 is in between negative 1 and 2. Put a point right there. And then your second one is x plus 4 equals 0. So let's subtract the 4. 0 minus 4 is negative 4. So that would be my second answer. So put a point at negative 4 and draw your smile. That's it. All right, just 2 more and then we will end there for today. The next 2 though, we don't have to factor with a box. All we have to do is take out our greatest common factor. Okay, because remember, that's the first step in factoring. So looking at 2C, or 3, sorry, this is example 3. I have 3x squared. Let me write it out the long way. Minus 12x. So this is what I always ask myself when I'm looking for my GCF. I'm noticing that this first term has a number. Is there a way I can break down the 12 with the number 3? How many times does 3 go into 12? So what I can do, and this is optional, is write this as 3xx minus 3 times 4 times x. So my GCF is everything they have in common. And what do both terms have in common? A 3 and a what? X. So I'm taking that out. That's my GCF. Now, what I'm putting in the parentheses is everything that I did not circle. And what did not circle? X minus 4. Put that on the inside. That would be my factors. That's my factors. All right, now set them equal to 0. And get your 2 answers. One of your answers will be 0. Anytime we could take out an x, that means one of my answers is 0. So dividing this by 3 What is 0 divided by 3? So we got x equals 0. That's my first. And it says write it as an x-intercept. So can you write that means that that's an ordered pair? That's the only time you have to write it as an ordered pair is when it says x-intercepts. So instead of 0, I'm going to write it as 0, 0. All right, then I have to add 4. And that's going to give me my second solution of x equals 4. But again, if I write that as an ordered pair, that would be 4, 0. So put a point at 0, put a point at 4, draw your smile. And that's that. This class going a little smoother than second period. I feel like after I teach you, then I'm like, okay, I know how to explain this a little bit better. All right, last one for today. So we got 16x squared plus 0. And I'm going to write this out in factors. I don't know if that helps you, but so what I always do is I look at the smaller number, which is 4. And I ask myself, can I break down the bigger number with a 4? So in other words, can 4 divide into 16? How many times was 4 going to 16? 4 times. So what I'm going to do is break this down to 4 times 4, and then x squared is x times x. Plus, now this 4 has to have a friend. So I'm going to break that down to 1 times 4. And you'll see why in a minute. So what do I have written in purple and in red? I definitely have a 4. What else do I have? X. Let's take it out. So I'm taking out the 4x, so that means that's a factor. And the reason why I put that 1 there is because I took out everything. I don't want you to think I only have a 4x. It's a 4x, a plus, and a 1 left over. So what I have left over is 4x plus 1. That goes on the inside. All right, set them both equal to 0. This one we won't sketch because it's almost impossible to do it. And I'll explain why. All right, go ahead and solve these. 4x. One answer is a fraction, the other one is a 0. So x equals 0 is my first answer. And then, well, I'm not even going to sketch it. And then for the second one, I subtract the 1. And divide by 4. Somebody over there snoring, for real. And you get x equals negative 1/4. So here, the reason why I said don't graph it is because the points are like literally right there. Like they're in between. You can't, I mean, it would be a really small, skinny. So yeah, we're not gonna worry about it. The x-intercepts are way too close to try to graph it. So that would be your final answer. So use this time to start working on homework 4. It is due Wednesday. I do stay after on Mondays. Your test is on Friday, and you will get your study guide on Wednesday.